Good evening, gearheads. Welcome to Speed City. This is John Massengale sitting in the studio with Les Kaiser. How are you, Mr. Kaiser?
Oh, I'm great. Hey, I did notice you got here a little bit earlier today. Do you want to divulge why?
Why not? I'm driving a new car. I gotta.
Well, wait, not new as in went to
Well,
the
not.
dealership.
I didn't go to. No real car guy goes to the dealership unless you're just filthy stinking rich and buy a new Mclaren or something.
That was the wrong engine.
That was definitely the wrong. That was a good engine for the rest of our
Yeah,
show, though.
oh, that's going to be great.
All right,
for the
we'll
rest of
talk
the
about
show.
the rest. We'll talk about my car later, but we have a fantastic show because we got a couple of people guests on the show, but we're going to talk NASCAR at COTA, which is happening less than a week from now. And our first guest is a NASCAR truck driver, Austin Wainself, who's from Austin, Texas. And we've known Austin for a long time, so he's going to join us here in a bit. And we also have a gentleman from Scott from Speedway Motorsports. They're the guys that are actually doing all the hard work out at COTA, getting it ready out there. And we're also going to talk a little. We're going to talk a little Formula One. We're going to talk a little IndyCar. We're going to even a little MotoGP if we get some time.
I got to talk Roger Penske.
Yeah, we're going to talk some Roger Penske. That's a really cool story. We're going to talk about that in Formula One and talk about the McLaren livery. Oh my gosh, the new Gulf livery.
Yeah.
And Jonathan is out at Mid-Ohio calling the IMSA stuff out there.
No!
Yes.
Mayhem!
He's wreaking
Mayhem in
havoc
Ohio.
in Ohio, and he grabbed an interview with one of the LMP3 winners out there from Texas, a
Now,
Texan.
so this week, some of the folks know, well, y'all never really get too deep into NASCAR. What do you think of this? And I said, no, I think it's phenomenal. I said, number one, even if you're not a NASCAR fan, and some of the folks that were standing there with us are not, I said, this is a historic motorsport event. As far as I can been able to research, this is the first time NASCAR has run on a current Formula One track that is on the calendar. So I don't care who you are. This is history.
Oh, dude, but let's just think about
it's gonna be
NASCAR
fun.
at Turn 1. That's going to be
T1 and the end of the
brilliant.
straight.
But we have a guest on the line that's going to help us understand what's about to happen in less than a week out at COTA, because we have Scott from Speedway Motorsports. Scott, welcome to Speed City.
Hey, gentlemen, how are you this evening?
We are great. How are you?
Good. We are doing fantastic. You're actually catching me on the tail end of one big motorsport event and heading into another. I was actually out at ZMAX Dragway at Charlotte Motor Speedway today for our four-wide NHRA event, and it was kind of fun to see the 16-time champion John Force actually capture another Wally Trophy today. He won his 152nd race at age 72. Can you believe that?
Wow, that is a bit of news.
I'm hoping I'm still going to have a driver's license at 72.
I know. I'm kind of with you.
That's a good point, Les.
And not be riding a three-wheeled motorcycle. How's that?
Well, Scott Cooper with Speedway, we want to pick your brain because we want to find out, we know what's going on. We got a NASCAR race coming to COTA. We've been thinking about NASCAR at COTA since 2012 when the tarmac was laid down, and now it's about to happen.
Well, I think we kind of stirred up Tony Stewart last time he was around, too.
Yeah, we had Tony on the show about a year ago, and he was telling us about what a fantastic place this would be for NASCAR. But why don't you give us kind of a quick overview, and then maybe we'll talk about some of the nuts and bolts.
Well, guys, we're actually beyond excited. As a company, Speedway Motorsports is thrilled. We've kind of got a history of doing things first and really trying to do things over the top. So it was really important to our president and CEO, Marcus Smith, that if anyone was going to bring a NASCAR race to COTA for the first time, it was going to be our company. And he had the opportunity to come out with Marshall Carlson, who's the president at Hendrick Motorsports, and meet Bobby Epstein and some of the people out around COTA probably 3 to 4 years ago for the first time, and really started looking at this as a significant possibility. And as Marcus likes to tell the story, what our company has done in leasing COTA and bringing NASCAR to this event is really no different than what NASCAR's great promoters back 50 years ago, his dad, Bruton Smith, and Bill France and whatnot, that's what they did. They were small-time track promoters, and they would find a market that they thought would be great to host a race in, go in and put a deal together with the local track, many of which at that time were horse racing tracks, and they would come in, produce the event, promote the event, and then move on to the next place. So in a lot of ways, this is just a modern-day spin on an old-style, old-school promotional opportunity for NASCAR and for stock car racing. But for us to be able to bring the most popular form of motorsports in the United States to such a destination venue and area like Austin and Circuit of the Americas is really a unique and special opportunity. There's been a lot of buzz around this event, and we are just glad that now Dover is out of the way and nothing is in front of us but Circuit of the Americas looking ahead to next weekend.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, Scott, I'm excited for this. And you mentioned Bruton Smith. I have my autographed ticket from the first race at Texas, that tells my age, Texas Motor Speedway. For the first race, Bruton Smith autographed my ticket when we met out by the grandstands. And so, I got to find somebody to autograph mine this time here.
That is fantastic. We're Texas Motor Speedway has been such a big part of our company, and we've been so blessed to be able to do what we've done there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And of course, big news this week with Eddie Gossage, our president and general manager there, after a 32-year career with our company and 25 years at Texas Motor Speedway. Eddie will be stepping down after the All-Star race, and it's really coming full circle for Eddie. Eddie actually started at Charlotte Motor Speedway as the head of public relations, and one of the first major events that he promoted at Charlotte was the first NASCAR All-Star race that ran under the lights at a super speedway. That was back in 1992. So for him to have the opportunity now to host the NASCAR All-Star race in Dallas is going to be really something special for him to kind of go out from his Speedway Motorsports career on that note. So we're looking forward to that next month. But first, we've got to get through Circuit of the Americas and COTA.
Well, nobody believes Eddie's going to go sit on a rocking chair. But yeah, let's talk COTA.
Well, I want to talk about this event from the kind of the big picture, because NASCAR has made some really incredible changes in recent history, right? With everything that went on with Bubba Smith and the Confederate flag, and now the next-gen cars, which, I mean, we're talking clean slate, clean sheet of paper for the new next-gen cars, and the fact that they're coming to Austin. And I love the ad. It may have been, I think it was Fox, but the ad was like, they're coming to Austin, Texas. It's going to be weird down there, man. And,
and we ain't changing.
The whole idea of NASCAR in Austin is weird enough, but on a Formula One track is even more unusual. But I just love the fact that NASCAR's stretching it. They're expanding what you think of when you think of NASCAR on all different fronts.
Well, I think, this has been something gradual that you've really seen over the past 2 to 3 to 4 years. And I think the fact that our company, as well as NASCAR, were able as companies to move from publicly traded companies to private companies suddenly gave the leadership a lot more flexibility to be able to do things with the NASCAR schedule. And, listening to the fans, hearing that the fans wanted to see some changes, thinking about ways to change things up, make things different, create some additional buzz, really gave us an opportunity this year with the schedule for the first time to do some things that are really, really unique. NASCAR, with the addition of the road courses, with going to a place like COTA, with running dirt at Bristol Motor Speedway, NASCAR did things with this year's schedule that literally were the biggest changes to the annual schedule in more than 50 years. So to be able to take a lot of the momentum that we were actually starting to pick up last year despite the pandemic and carry that into this year with a new schedule is really something special. And we are seeing it in that as a company, we are actually seeing ticket sales with a lot of our racetracks actually pacing ahead of places that they were pacing in 2019 pre-pandemic. And then on top of that, we're also seeing great numbers with our television ratings. We're always comparing what NASCAR is doing to the television ratings for other sports, and where many other sports are seeing high single digits and in some cases double-digit declines in television ratings, we are actually doing really well. And when you take out the Daytona 500, which was, of course, very rain-impacted this year, and look at the rest of the schedule, we're not only pacing exactly where we were before, but we're actually climbing in some areas. So I think, people are excited about what they're seeing on the track. They're getting more excited about the drivers. There's a lot of new blood that's out there, and I think it's a great time for us to do some things to really shake things up and go places like a market like Austin, Texas. I mean, it's such a destination market. It's a travel place. It's a place that people want to be, and there are fun things to do, and that's what we want to do, is create an incredibly fun event, give everybody a great time, give them things to do, and do it in a place that there are other entertainment opportunities while they travel into town. So, we want to be the big party that's bringing the tourism and bringing the attraction and showing a lot of the open wheel fans that have been used to coming to COTA, hey, this is a different product. It's a little bit more unique, and come out, check it out, and you're going to have a good time while you're here with us.
Well, I already know that's happening because I heard from some guys with RVs, and I'm giving them advice on what to do Thursday. They get to roll in and the campground's open on Thursday, and they're like, okay, well, there's not really going to be anything on track yet, but so fill our agenda with the rest of Austin. So helping those guys out. And I think that's huge that, we've got that opportunity that folks are in here that haven't been here before and seen this track.
Well, speaking of those campers and those RVs, we are being told by our friends at COTA that we have actually sold more camping spaces than they have ever sold in the history of the facility.
Wow.
So we're expecting over 900 camping spaces to be filled. We've actually been working with the property, trying to find more places that we can kind of turn into camping, even if it's dry camping, to meet the demand, which is a good thing. But those campers, when they come into cities early, that's one of the reasons that NASCAR races and NASCAR race weekends drive such a tremendous economic impact for the region, because people tend to want to come in early, find things to do. A lot of them do camp, and then they decide to stay a little later on the backside. So whether you're just coming in for a day for the event, or whether you're coming in for all 3 days of action that we've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's going to be special for the city of Austin. And, we hope everything goes really well and that we can look at this on the backside and go, this is definitely a place that we need to try to come back to again.
Well, what about, we've got the CDC saying we don't need masks in most places now. What about anything with COVID? Are we going to have 50%, 100%? What kind of restrictions, or are there any?
Well, we don't have any restrictions in terms of capacity. We currently are following what the local protocols are, which is that a mask would be required, but that was before the latest CDC ruling late this past week.
Yeah.
So we're going to follow back up again. We're going to see what that is going to be, but we want people to focus on the fun and focus on the good times that they're going to have. So my advice tonight would be to plan on bringing a mask just in case, but at the same time, follow us on our social media channels, NASCAR at COTA, or go to NASCAR@COTA.com, so that if we have some updates this week, we'll let you know. Anybody that's purchasing a ticket, we're going to be sending them some emails and some videos to basically get them ready for the event itself. So basically it'll be what do they need to know before they go. So if you sign up with us, we'll be sure through our mobile app, we'll get you the right information and get everybody prepared for next weekend. And speaking of being prepared for the weekend, I know you guys are looking at a pretty tough weather forecast over the next few days. But from what I'm seeing, it looks like it's going to clear out a lot by the weekend. And we want to remind all those race fans out there, for road courses in NASCAR, we can race in the rain. We will bring some inclement weather tires, and as long as it's not a complete monsoon, the show will go on. So that's kind of a cool thing about NASCAR and the tires that Goodyear will bring. So the teams will have the access to the rain tires. They'll also have the access to the regular tires. And so that's something special about road course racing in NASCAR, is that it doesn't necessarily kill the whole show just because Mother Nature decides to drop a few a few raindrops on us.
That's right. Hey, and folks, as far as the pandemic and those protocols, I want to tell you something that I was proud to see. NASCAR was the first one
Yeah.
to held races again, following strict, they didn't use some
NASCAR
media or
set the-
political head.
They
used the scientific
yeah,
information and were driven by CDC guidelines.
and they set the example for a lot of
And they
sports.
did.
That was
Scott, that was
a
huge.
really huge collaborative effort last year amongst the race teams, working with state and local governments, the sanctioning body, the facilities, the racetracks. It was a big effort last year, and you're exactly right. NASCAR last year was the first major league sport back to live competition after the onset of the pandemic. And then as we got into the summer, we were the first major league sport that actually brought back fans. So we've got a lot of experience with how to navigate what needs to be done to keep everybody safe, make everybody feel comfortable, but at the same time, being able to work with state and local governments to be sure that we're doing what they need us to do so that we can put on a great event. It's all about using common sense and being smart, and we're so glad to see things starting to change. Unlike Texas, where you guys are broadcasting from, I'm actually living in North Carolina. I live in Charlotte, and our restrictions have been much stronger to date than what Texas has had to date, and we were very pleased here that just literally on Friday, the North Carolina governor lifted the mask mandate. If you've been vaccinated now, you could go inside, outside, etc. And for indoor, it was kind of up to the private business. Recommendation, if you hadn't been vaccinated, continue to wear your mask. But in general, capacity limitations are gone now. Masks are much more wide open. Social distancing, we didn't have to worry about that anymore. And we saw it amongst the race fans this weekend at ZMAX Dragway immediately. And it was so awesome to see the smiles on people's faces. When you work for a company like mine, whose job it is to produce a great event that fans are going to have fun at and they're going to enjoy, they're going to make memories with their friends and their family, to be able to actually see those smiling faces again was a huge reward this weekend. And we're looking forward, we hope, to a lot more of that next weekend when we're at COTA.
That is awesome. And you know what? I'm not going to worry about the mask. COTA's got 1,300 acres out there. There's plenty of room to spread around, so nobody needs to worry about that
Okay,
anymore.
so what? So bring a mask, bring sunscreen, bring your earbuds, bring comfortable tennis shoes, and have a fantastic
And
weekend.
don't worry about the rain. That is awesome that they're going to be able to race in the rain. Well, Scott Cooper, Speedway Motorsports, thank you very much for coming on to get us up to speed. We really appreciate it. And, of course, we'll see you guys next weekend out at COTA.
Guys, we are so looking forward to it. Look, we've still got tickets for sale.
Yeah.
People can get in for the entire weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for just, I think those tickets start at just $99. Kids tickets 12 and under are actually free Friday and Saturday, just $10 for Sunday. And guys, for the fans that are used to Austin and COTA and Circuit of the Americas, you're going to be amazed at how different this facility is going to look. We have done so many things to change it up and freshen it up. I was just told by our operations people this week, guys, all that beautiful signature stars and stripes paint around the facility, around the turns, etc., things that make COTA look so good. We have repainted everything with fresh coats, 5,000 gallons of paint, gentlemen. That is enough. If you do the math, you can cover nearly 35 football fields with the amount of paint that we have put down around Circuit of the Americas. So it's going to look spectacular this weekend, and we're looking forward to a great show. All the details, schedules, tickets, everything you need to know, NASCAR@COTA.com.
That is awesome.
Awesome.
All right, Scott, thanks a lot, man, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. We're looking forward to it.
All right.
Travel safe, Scott. All righty.
Yeah, we've got NASCAR at COTA up scrolling on the social media video stream, and yeah, it's $70 for general admission adults, and 80 reserve seating starting at $80. Kids 12 and under, $10. That's going to be a great deal for a whole weekend of racing.
Oh yeah, that is. Like I said, I'm excited to see the whole changes and what this race is going to be like. For one, it's historic. I want to be there. Period.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're a fan or not of NASCAR. Come check this out. It's going to be cool.
Well, I mean, let's think about this. We've seen every kind of car race on COTA, right? You name it. And we have never seen anything like NASCAR racing at COTA. We've seen the cars on track at COTA, but we've never seen anything quite like this. The closest thing would be the Australian V8 supercars, but they ran the different circuit.
Yeah,
they ran the short circuit. So it's going to be really fascinating just to watch it from just from a motorsports technology and comparison to compare to all the other series.
Yeah, for sure. But it's great. It's honestly, NASCAR is really taken off just recently.
Well, I want to think about, I mean, I said it jokingly early in the show about NASCAR at turn one, but that's actually one of the most exciting things I'm thinking about is how are they all going to navigate coming into turn one, because it's so unusual with that big 133-foot rise and then the, hairpin turn at the top. I don't know what to really expect there with NASCAR, but it's going to be fun to find out.
That and at the other end of the track, the end of the big straightaway, 12 is going to be fun to see the battles in that area.
Well, turn 11's so tight. I mean, NASCAR cars are pretty big too. So let's, thinking about how they turn on 11. Well, yeah, and then there's track limits. Don't say
Sorry, wrong sport.
Yeah, that's a four-letter word. But anyway, we're really looking forward to it because I think this is going to be, like you said, it's historic at COTA, but it's also going to be really fascinating to watch. One thing I want to talk about is I alluded to it a little bit is the new NASCAR Next-Gen Car. I mean, we're talking about truly, like I said, a clean sheet of paper, but also, I mean, the technology that they're moving to, they're making generational leaps at NASCAR. I mean, we're going from reciprocating ball steering to rack and pinion, right? So it was. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There is going to be so much. There's aerodynamic changes in NASCAR, and engine changes with the possibility of going to hybrid systems. So NASCAR's really stepping up with the technology in the next gen car.
Absolutely. I mean, with the independent suspension and all of that kind of thing is really going to liven up things for the handling. And, this has the potential for having really fast passes through the S's. And honestly, I can't think of any other tracks that they've been on that are going to exhibit that kind of speed and then the reducing radius as you get back into 8, 9, 10 section.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things at this track that just aren't right for a NASCAR crowd. So it's going to be a totally exciting opportunity to see this.
I love the fact that he mentioned the rain because I've had several people ask me because they saw the forecast, and you can never predict a 7-day forecast at the 7th day. You have no idea what's going to happen. But the fact that they are going to race unless it's a deluge is awesome. But let me just go back to that next gen car a little bit because I'm just looking at some of the specs in my notes here. I mean, the body is supposed to be symmetrical, which is removing the skew and tail offset from the last car, right? The last generation. And the
wheels, we got up on to 18 inch.
They're from 15 to 18 is a big change. Yeah. Just like Formula One is also doing the same thing, going to larger diameter tires. The car's going to be 2 inches off the ground with a new splitter up front, a flat underbody, and a rear diffuser. Never had a rear diffuser in NASCAR. Think about it. Every race series has a rear diffuser, and NASCAR has had the flat bumper on the back. Because so they're going to have a lot more control of the aerodynamics, and they're also going to have aerodynamics flowing through the car, through the engine compartment, and out through the top of the hood, which is going to free up some of the thermal load inside.
Right.
So we may they're probably going to. I think they're starting with similar horsepower, but the potential to have higher horsepower because they're somewhat limited by thermal load apparently now. Also, safety being top of mind. They're going to have a redesigned chassis. It's going to have energy-absorbing foam bumpers in the front and rear. The tubing will have rectangular and a shift from the current circular design. But one thing that's going to be a big difference is that they'll be able to, like right now, you see NASCAR when they get into a crash, they rip off the side of the car. They basically have to retire. But now they're going to be more component-like.
Zeus fasteners.
Yeah, similar to Formula One, where you could unbolt the front and bolt a new one on.
Yeah.
So there's going to be tons more
Yeah,
technology
and that comes from a lot of the open wheel sports or genres where the passenger compartment, the driver's compartment, is pretty much its own unit. Everything just attaches to it. Sometimes historically we've seen where the engines are actually a structural member of the frame, and is actually tied in with that structure. So this is a big change. I think it's going to be a much safer car. If we see these flying aerial 7-spin barrel rolls, it may look more disastrous as things fly off, disperse that energy that's going, and then allow the passenger compartment to remain intact.
I wonder if the aerodynamics, though, or you're going to see less of these. We saw car airborne.
Yeah, that was definitely part of the design.
Yeah.
I did see that in one of the things that I read is keeping the cars on the ground even when going backwards. And so there were definitely some changes to that.
And we hadn't even talked about some of the huge ones. Independent rear suspension replaces a solid axle. Yes, NASCAR's still running solid axle, so they're independent rear suspension. There's a couple other things that the horsepowers we've touched on. They don't have anything set in stone yet, but also a sequential 5-speed gearbox instead of a traditional 4-speed H.
Stir pot. Yep.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. Pretty incredible. All right, guys. Well, we need to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue our discussion. We're going to talk a little bit more about Formula One, a little MotoGP, and IndyCar. Really exciting with Roman Grosjean this weekend. You're listening to Speed City live in Austin. Back after a quick break.
Hi, this is Michael Zweiback, driver of the number 2 Discount Tire Porsche. Welcome to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, we're going to talk a little Formula One and IndyCar and other things here. We're going to continue our discussion with NASCAR in just a moment because we have a guest on the line. We have a driver on the line. But before we do, I want to talk about a sponsor of the show tonight, MyPlates.com. And they are going to they're going to be a part of our NASCAR coverage because next weekend we're going to be doing NASCAR coverage out at COTA, live at COTA, and you can hear the entire race right here on Talk 1370. Okay. Yes.
Can I tell what part of your custom license plate is for your new
Sure, why not?
Well, it says 996 on it, so there's a clue, and stay tuned later on in the show for
there
the rest.
You go. But I am getting a plate from MyPlates.com, and of course you can too. In fact, you can win a 7-letter 5-year plate by going to speedcitybroadcast.com/win and just enter your name and email address, and we're going to give away in the next week or so here, right before the NASCAR race, is we're going to give away one of those 5-year plates. They're $500 value, so this is a really awesome gift. So check it out, myplates.com, and you can generate your own plate online. It's really fun to play with, so go check it out. But let's go to our next guest. We have a gentleman who is from Austin, Texas, and I met Austin Wayne Self probably about 2012 or so, and he was just a youngster coming up through the ranks, and he has now made it into NASCAR, driving in the Truck Series. Austin Wayne Self, welcome to Speed City.
Hey, man, it's great to be on. I want to apologize for being late, man. We were running a little late at the track, and It's been a while since I've been to Texas, and the time zone changes, and I got a little mixed up. So,
Oh, well, we were blaming it on the tacos.
well, that's true. We had tacos that they fed us good at the track. We had some I think it was Tyson's tacos
Yeah,
for
there you go.
breakfast, and we had Popsitos for lunch. So I've been eating good. You know, that's
There went the weight
you know,
limit.
right. That's one thing. You know, when I make it back to Austin, I never have enough time, and I got a lot of places to check off the list. So it's good. Good. Not only did I get to mess around on the racetrack today, but I got some check marks off the food list.
There you go. Well, Austin, tell everybody about you were born and raised here in Austin, right? I know you were here from a young kid, right?
Yeah, I was born and raised. I actually lived out near Lake Travis, not far from the Oasis, and then we moved not too far and my sister went to Cedar Park. I went to Vandegrift High School. I actually only got 1 year. They didn't like me missing school to go racing, so I opted out and did the homeschool. But you know, for me, you know, I just always really loved the area. Austin's you know, as everybody knows now, it seems like everybody wants to be here, but it's a place I'm proud to be from, and I'm definitely a proud Texan, and I think one of the cool things for me in my career in NASCAR is I've been able to take a piece of Texas with me, you know, as far as go Texan and don't mess with Texas and other Texas sponsors or partners. And so, like I said, I live in North Carolina now, but I was born and raised here. And usually when people ask me, I'm pretty quick to tell them, no, I'm not from here. This is my home. Austin's my home. So
that's fantastic. So, well, tell everybody where your roots came from, because I met you and you were racing out there, and Kyle at that racetrack, and talk about your career as you've moved up in NASCAR.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, actually, the way I got started in racing, you know, my dad was I got family in Indiana, in Indianapolis. So my dad would go to the Indy 500, and I think, you know, from what I've been told and my understanding, he wanted to get into racing, go-karts. My mom told him he had to find something for me that we could do together, father, son. And he bought me a go-kart when I was 4 years old. And we started racing down in New Braunfels, Texas at Hill Country Kart Club. And from there, it just kind of, you know, it went from my dad dragged me to the track, you know, and turned into me kind of dragging him to the track. And you know, I've been very fortunate to move up the ranks through late model racing. I got my late model racing started in Kyle, Texas. That's where I met you. And from there went ARCA series, truck series. And I've been doing the truck series for a little while now. So I'm almost a veteran. I feel kind of old. I'm 25, so I'm getting older here in the racing world. But
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, started here in Texas, and you know, now we're on the national stage. So, you know, for me, it's cool. We go to Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, and now it's almost like a dream come true to have such a beautiful racetrack, you know, F1 level road course. And you know, when I was a kid, I always dreamed of winning races. And I always dreamed that we would have a racetrack here in Austin, and dreams are starting to come true. So that's cool.
That was my question for you about, you know, is this a dream? But the next question is, what are you expecting about driving on it, like you said, a Formula One Grade 1 circuit in a NASCAR truck? I mean,
have you driven on it yet?
Yeah, and have you spent time on it?
Well, so that's why I you know, there's two things. I had the option to come down here, and I got to drive a Porsche, and I wasn't going to turn that down, and I get to stay the week here. So it was a win-win situation, right? I was like, yeah, I guess I'll travel down there and you know, go get a little bit of practice, you know, on the racetrack. The NASCAR doesn't allow us to test the stock cars on the racetrack, but you know, there's different opportunities, and this guy named Mark Martin and
Oh
Will to
yeah.
Win Racing, and he had a couple Porsche. I think they're GT3, GT4s, and so the past 2 days, me and my buddy Logan been out there getting a feel for the track, and I mean, it was. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty cool to get to drive a Porsche out there. We had a really good time. I felt like I learned a lot. The weather here has been beautiful, and there's been a little bit of rain showers, so we got a little bit of both. So I think we're really prepared for next week, and I think there'll be a lot that will be able to translate from that Porsche to the stock car. You know, everybody thinks these stock cars are big, heavy race cars and whatnot. Yeah, they're heavy, but nowadays they drive really well. And I was telling the guys when I was driving that Porsche, I was like, man, you know, times I kind of feel like that NASCAR kind of drives a little better than the Porsche, and they had their hands up, man. It's funny. I was like, well, I don't know if it's the Porsche or the stock car drives better, or if I'm just used to the stock car, and that's what I'm looking for out of it.
Yeah.
But I had a great time. Those things are a lot of fun to drive, and like I said, I feel about as prepared as I could be heading into next week, and whether it's rain or shine, I think we'll get a little bit of both, but I feel prepared.
Yeah. Well, you had a good group there. I mean, besides Will to Win, and also I know S's is tied in with that group, and they do a lot of very scientific data reviewing and research on the cars that they have out there on that track. And so I know they've got an encyclopedia already for you and help with your coaching there. But to me, that's amazing. For one, yeah, completely different car, but that's something that a lot of folks kind of shy away from is, well, would you want to do it in a different car? But it sounds like it was productive for you.
Yeah, of course. And you know, I mean, for us NASCAR, I mean, the road courses, we get those opportunities on the road courses. You know, the circle tracks, there's really nothing we can do. You know, we use simulator time at the shop, and you know, but it's really cool that, you know, guys like Will to Win Racing and these guys, I mean, just about anybody, as far as I know, I mean, they let me drive them. So I'm pretty sure anybody can go out there and get themselves a ride in that seat. And I'll tell you, you're exactly right. The when I got out there, I mean, it felt like a professional race test. You know, I felt like it was a test, and we had data on the cars, video. I mean, they even had throttle trace. They had everything. So they had an engineer out there. We sat down, went through the data. And I think even there's another guy named Cameron Lawrence. He was out there, but he's planning on racing the truck race. I think he's a sports car guy, but he wasn't talking to me too much. He wasn't giving me too many secrets. So I didn't give him any secrets on the stock cars either. So level playing ground.
Those will be fun.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity, man. And it's a really cool place. I mean, to go check out, there's all kinds of awesome race cars, Lamborghinis. They had some Mercedes GTs out there. And I mean, there's some things I don't even know what they were. I couldn't see the logo. They drove past me on the straightway. I don't know what they were, but they were fast.
The black and blue one with all the fins on it. We had a Senna in town.
Oh, is that what
track.
that was? A Senna.
And so a lot of people don't recognize it. They recognize the McLaren, but that's not like any other one you've seen. But I know it was out there yesterday afternoon. I think it's going to be there this morning.
Yep, I saw it out there this morning. This morning they had it tucked away in the garage a little bit. It was raining and kind of on the track was kind of dry, wet, but yeah, I saw them out there yesterday. It was hard to miss.
Well, let's talk about, you know, what your expectations are for this weekend at COTA. I mean, wouldn't it be amazing to do great at your home race? You know, I know you're still looking for that first win. How about how incredible would that be to get it at home?
Do it for us, buddy.
Yeah, well, that's what my wife was telling me. She was trying to give me pointers today on the racetrack. Tell me that the bad part was the Porsches, they got the brake lights, so she was telling me to get off the brakes. So yeah, I mean, you know, obviously it'd be a dream to win this race. You know, I think our race team this year, AM Racing's, you know, the group of guys we got together, I think they're a championship caliber team. But at the end of the day, we're a one-car team, and on a little bit smaller budget than some of the bigger teams like KBM and whatnot. But I think somewhere along in this race season, I feel like we're going to keep putting ourselves in a spot for an opportunity for a win. But for us right now, heading into COTA, it's a brand new racetrack. We have nothing to lean back on except for other road courses. But a lot the road courses are different. From Daytona to Canada, wherever else we go. So my expectations are to go out there and of course compete for a win. That's what I've been thinking about. But at the end of the day, we also got to think about points. We're still fighting for a spot in the playoffs, and I think that comes first. If on the racetrack, we got to put ourselves in position each stage to get some stage points and do whatever we can do to have that playoff berth stay alive. So of course that's number one in stage 1 and 2, and if we got a quick truck, I feel like I'll have an extra 10% in me since it's here in Austin, my home track. So I think the plan's obviously to win, but at the end of the day, we also got to think about points. Our goal for the season is to make the playoffs and win a race somewhere down the line.
Well,
if I have to only take one, I'll take this one.
Yeah, that's the one you want to win at home. Well, speaking of being at home, there's going to be people out there that have been to all the different racing at COTA, and they may not know a lot about NASCAR, but let's give them a hometown, driver to root for. Tell them what to look for. What's your car look like? What's your number and all that stuff, so they can root for you.
Yeah, it won't be hard to miss if
your truck, I should say.
We got it 22 Go Tex and Chevy, and if you can't see that, we got "Don't Mess with Texas" on the back bumper, so that should be recognizable. And if you can't see that, we got the Texas flag on the bed top. So I'm pretty sure, all year round it's the Texas truck. So it's going to stick out this weekend. So it's not going to be hard to miss. The 22 truck,
Perfect.
big Texas flag,
Perfect.
Texas colors, Texas flag. If it says Texas on it. Hell, my name's Austin, so
there you go.
I mean, it's right. It all fits in really well. You can't miss it.
That's awesome. You get some great sponsors. Don't Mess with Texas. Go Texan. That is fantastic. All right. Well, Austin Wayne Self, thank you for coming on the show, buddy. We appreciate it. We will look for you out there next weekend and be rooting for you. And we'll get everybody out on our side looking for you and rooting for you as well. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. I'm super excited. So appreciate you guys having me on and getting to talk a little bit.
All right.
Well, say hey to the folks.
We'll come see you.
Perfect.
All righty. Folks, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll get to those Formula One stories and IndyCar stories after the break. You're listening to Speed City, live from Austin.
Hi, I'm JD Beach, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, we said we were going to be we'll talk some Formula One, and there's two things that I want to talk about. First off, let's talk about the schedule, because there has been a change. The Turkish Grand Prix is postponed right now. Now, they're saying that it could be rescheduled for later in the year, so we'll see how that plays out. But the other thing that I want to talk about was the McLaren, the little mystery reveal that they did today on YouTube. And the internet kind of exploded on the motorsports side because this is so awesome looking. The fact that they're bringing back the light blue and orange Gulf livery. You know, Gulf started sponsoring them a little while back, but they're bringing back the iconic, I mean, maybe the most iconic, I mean, definitely one of them, liveries in all of motorsports history.
Yeah, I agree. There's a long history on actually quite a few different brands of cars too.
Yep.
You know, we recognize it in several different vehicles: Fords, Shelbys, Porsche. There's been quite a few of them that they've been around. So I love seeing it. The history. Oh, Aston Martin was here under the same livery a few years ago.
Yep.
So it's not just a one brand of automobile, which I always liked with them.
I know, but I mean, as a kid, I remember having Hot Wheels with that livery on it, and you know, watching Le Mans, and you know,
GT40s.
Yeah, the GT40s with that livery. It's just, I mean, it's not just me that got excited, because everybody, I mean, it was just an explosion on the internet. I didn't know what this was going to be, by the way. McLaren started saying, tune in tomorrow for a big announcement, and I really didn't know. I hadn't heard. We didn't get any sort of heads up, so I hadn't heard. But
and like I said, we've seen Gulf floated around, so it wasn't what I thought of for sure. I just didn't know what it was going to be.
Well, you know, and in the movie, what was it? Le Mans with Steve McQueen. What was that, like 1970 or something like that? You know, was driving that was when it was a Porsche car for Le Mans. So it just goes way back. So I had to talk about that. But there's a couple other things I want to talk about. And by the way, don't forget, we are giving away from our sponsor, MyPlates.com. We're going to give away one of their 5-year, 7-letter custom license plates. So go to speedcitybroadcast.com/win and just enter your stuff to enter that. So
you want
it's
to
really
say
cool.
What your other 3 letters are?
The other 3 letters are RUF. So I'm going to have 996 RUF. And if you can figure it out, if you can't figure it out from there, then it doesn't matter to you. Then if you can, that's my new toy that I'm playing with that Les is going to help me adjust the ride height on next weekend. Not next weekend, I guess weekend after.
Yeah, we got to work next weekend.
Yeah,
Darn.
that's true. Yeah, out at NASCAR.
On one lift or another, we'll get that
and
thing
by the
sorted.
way, next weekend.
And you know, I always do a quality check after making adjustments to my suspension jobs.
Well, I'll let you ride in the passenger seat for that quality check.
That doesn't work.
Next weekend, we're going to be 12 hours because we're going to have our Formula One from Monaco, our pre- and post-race show like we do every Formula One weekend. We're going to have that on national radio, so go to our website, speedcitybroadcast.com, to check that out. And then, so we're going to get through with that, and we're going to do that from COTA, by the way. It's going to be kind of cool calling the Formula One race from COTA. And then we're going to have breakfast, take a rest, and then about an hour later, jump on the microphones for NASCAR. We're going to have a NASCAR pre-race starting at noon. And then we're going to throw out to the national broadcast after that. And you can hear the entire race right here on Talk 1370 here in Austin. So it'll probably wrap up around 5 o'clock-ish, depending on how NASCAR goes. And we'll have a little post-race wrap-up. So if you go to the race, tune us in on the way there and on the way home. We love to get people calling in on the way there and on the way home. That's one of my favorite things.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, going to be a great weekend of racing. I'm excited to see Monaco. You know, this is going to be different this year because Monaco is not on the same day as the Indy 500 this time.
Yep.
It's historic, or I'll say it's tradition in Monaco, which I was not aware of, hadn't thought that far ahead of. But when I went to the Monaco race, everybody said, oh, you got to go to the Stars and Bars sports pub there on the marina for the Monaco club. And then you sit there and watch the Indy 500 group. And so that was a lot of fun. It's that, you know, a bunch of the F1 cronies all head into there and watch the Indy 500 on big screens.
Mm. Well, speaking of Formula One, ex-Formula One driver Romain Grosjean had a fantastic weekend at Indianapolis in IndyCar. It was fantastic. You could see he was just grinning ear to ear, but he won the pole on Friday night.
Yep.
And then, so he started from pole and did a fantastic standing start. Everybody was worried. He looked like an IndyCar pro. In fact, he could have won that race. He led most of the race and ended up in second. Could have won that race had it not been for some blue flag shenanigan stuff going on. But how exciting was that?
No, that was fantastic. And, he showed excellently on every bit. He was put in so many scenarios of crowding. Once they started going through the pit cycles and he was in traffic, he really showed what he can do in a good car.
Yeah.
And, no slight from where he came from, but it was awesome to see him performing like we saw him years ago, really pulling out some of the experienced moves that he has.
It has to make you think about the level of Formula One that you can have a driver move to a new series and in his fifth race, get the pole and almost win the race. Now, I mean, that to me, what I'm saying is that Formula One truly is the pinnacle, right? I mean, if all your training is in the cars with the highest G-force, the highest, everything, but to step into an Indy car and win the pole and come in second in the race, it's really.
Well, who else I'm thinking of? A rookie year guy that steps out of F1 and lands in IndyCar and wins the 100th running of the 500.
Well,
Alexander Rossi.
True, that's true.
But no, there's something to that. Certainly not everybody that steps out of F1 and comes to IndyCar does it, but there's a lot of skill. To me, the training and the criticality that these F1 teams put into their drivers. I remember Alexander Rossi sitting in studio with us talking about he'd be jogging on a treadmill and slapping lights on the wall, activity lights for response times, and then he'd be doing math while he jogs or rides bicycle or whatever, and how they really drive a multitasking thing. We never have really got to dive into the training for IndyCar drivers with that type of approach if it's used as well.
Yeah. Well, I was just looking at some of my notes here. Grosjean, he got stuck behind a lapped car, Sebastian Bourdais, late in the race, preventing him from gaining ground on the leader. The eventual winner was Rinus VeeKay. So
jealous Frenchman blocking his countryman.
Yep. And the big thing that I came away with was looking at how the fans. Do you remember how long? It wasn't that long ago. I mean, even in when he was racing for Haas, he got a lot of grief on the internet. He got a lot of grief. And when he had that debacle in the first turn one back in when he was racing at, where was he? Renault, I think it was in Formula One, but before Haas.
Yeah.
And where he flew over Alonso, and it was really a disastrous. Grosjean, in my mind, showed a lot more in his whole career, a lot more positive, but he had a handful of those incidents that just kind of clouded his career just a little bit. When he was warming the tires and crashing into the barriers in Formula One a couple years ago.
Fresh start.
But yeah, a fresh start. But the big thing is the fact that he survived this crash, I think, shifted all the haters away. And he's actually got a lot of excitement, a lot of positive energy from the fans now. And you see it online, but you also saw it at the IndyCar races where he's the crowd, you can hear the crowd and stuff. So I think that this is, you see him survive this crash, and that helped his career from that standpoint.
Without a doubt. And emotionally, I mean, I was sitting there and I was behind him more than any of the other drivers this time. We're fortunate on Speed City that they give us the access to these guys coming on the show so often. And but him, I particularly was behind him.
We just got about a minute or so left. I want to touch on MotoGP because
okay.
I got
spreading in my shirt here.
Oh yeah, I got to watch that race this morning. It was really exciting because it was in the rain. It started dry, and it was only a handful of laps in, maybe 6 or 8 laps in, and the rain came. And here comes Marquez. And Marquez was 3rd or 4th. And when they went into the pits to swap bikes, he came out. He did it super fast, came out in the lead of the race. And you thought, oh, my gosh, it's going to be classic Marquez where he manages the weather, manages those rain tires, and wins the race. But unfortunately, only about 2 laps in, Marquez had at a horrific, actually, high side, and he went totally upside down, landed on his shoulder, but he was able to get back on the bike. I thought, is he going to re-injure that shoulder and that plate that he's got in there? But he was able to get back on the bike and get going again. He got back up into the points, and then he crashed again. When's the last time you see Marc Marquez crash twice in a race? So,
yeah, no kidding. But congrats to Ducati.
Yeah.
Paolo Ciapatti, friend of the show.
Yep.
For making it. Always has, sure missing the MotoGP guys around here.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks to our guest, Austin Wayne Self and Speedway Motorsports. And, of course, we'll talk to you next Sunday from Circuit of the Americas for both Formula One and NASCAR.
Ciao, y'all.